Pepe, from the flunk of school. That's my mama, talk all of that. But to make me sick of the thing I gotta do, I can't get no kicks, got to follow stupid rules. Boy, to make me sick, just to make a lousy buck, got to feel like a fool. That's right, mama used to tell us, oh, what's the matter you? Hey, gotta no respect. What do you think you do? Why you look so sad? It's not so bad. It's a nicer place. Ah, shut up in your face. That's my mama. Big accordion solo.
Yes, America, that was Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono's favorite song, Shut Up in Your Face. And now, from a dingy public locker inside an abandoned Long Island Railroad station, comes the radio show designed to piss off liberals using truth, fact, ridicule, and the American way. The Lid radio show featuring me, the Lid, Jeff Dunitz himself. And if you don't listen to the host show, well, Dianne Feinstein's going to creep into your room in the middle of the night and grope you. Anyway, we got great guests today. Besides being someone who served in this country in combat, Kurt Schlichter is an inventor of the hashtag caring, is a regular town hall columnist, a frequent cable news guest, a trial lawyer based in L.A., and the author of 8 books, including one coming out on October 2nd that I've already read called Militant Normals, which is, I can't tell you guys what a great book this is. I am so enthusiastic about it. Kurt, welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome. Combat, man. I was so far in the rear they'd have to FedEx bullets to.
Oh, I thought you were in combat.
No. I don't have a CIB, a combat infantry badge.
I take that back.
Up. Oh yeah, man.
Well, you were closer to the.
I don't want to.
You were closer to the action than Senator Blumenthal.
Well, that's true.
I was close to the action.
I saw it was on CNN, which at the time existed.
Yeah, you're right. It did exist. You know, actually, I remembered on 9/11, I was actually watching MSNBC because it was a good news channel. I'm not kidding. But anyway, I apologize to that. But tell me, to me, I love the premise of the book, especially the normals versus the elites, and we'll get to this later. But I think that that's what we're seeing in the Senate Judiciary hearing. But can you explain to the audience, because you do it better than I do, what that means, normals versus elites?
Sure. I think the best way to understand what's happening now is the fact that our elite, the people who run our institutions, the people who are in academia and Hollywood and politics, and they can be conservative-ish too, have decided that they hate the normal people they're supposed to be doing all the work on behalf of. Normal people want to go about their lives, and they kind of expect the elites, who kind of take a little off the top, right? They get their power and prestige in exchange for running the institutions, running the society. And all normals want is a little bit of stability, a little bit of prosperity, and a little bit of respect. And they weren't getting security, they weren't getting prosperity, and they certainly weren't getting respect. In fact, the elite decided, well, we kind of hate these people.
Yeah.
And it's strange that the elite is, at war with normal Americans. Normal Americans are ticked off.
I kind of like at one point in the book where you say, how come every time they need to solve a problem, they have to take money from us?
And power.
And power.
And rights.
And, well, yeah.
Oh, no, you're absolutely correct. And remember, problems exist in the minds of elites as excuses. Remember, the elites don't have problems, right? They're fine, right? They're not the ones suffering the consequences of illegal immigration. They're not the one, for instance, do you see a bunch of lawyers and stockbrokers and politicians crossing the border and taking jobs? No. They come and take the jobs of normal people. Where elites stopped seeing normal people as a repository of traditional values and started seeing them as sheep to be sheared, knuckle-dragging, stupid, Jesus-loving sheep, to be specific.
Yep. Well, what do you mean by traditional values?
Patriotism, family.
These are the guys who, like me, gets kind of... I get the tingle down my leg when I go to the 4th of July parade and I see this flag coming down the street. Unlike some
they have
other
nothing
people.
but contempt for it.
Right.
As you could see from the whole Kavanaugh thing.
Yeah.
Not Kavanaugh. I'm sorry, Kaepernick. Wrong atrocity that begins with K.
But both of them, actually. But yeah, I think, didn't Harvard just give him another sort of award?
I'm sure that did. Yeah, it's interesting. We're supposed to be hypersensitive to offending people. Well, guys like you and me are kind of offended when you disrespect the flag, but we're normal people, so it doesn't count. So the whole idea about not having to offend people, not saying, oh, well, you're offended, I'll find a different way to make my protest, that doesn't count for us. Remember, there's always two sets of rules. One for them, one for us. And that's an intolerable situation in a free country.
We get offended, and you mentioned this in the book, when the government tries to force a group of nuns to fund abortion.
Yes,
the
because
Little
it's
Sisters
important
of the Poor.
that they break your spirit.
That's right. And I think that is kind of jealousy, don't you? I mean, don't they want you to think of the government as God, in a way?
Well, and of course they run the government, so
right, that's
what
why.
they want to be is God. The idea. Well, you should worship government. It's not really that. It's you should worship them.
Right. And that's what we were kind of stuck with for as long as I can remember. And it's interesting because now you were never Trump, but you weren't a big fan of his at the beginning.
That's true. I was I'm an ideological conservative, and he's not.
Right.
He just isn't. But he's covered as a more conservative president than anyone since Reagan, including that sap George Bush, and better than Romney would have been. Certainly better than McCain would have been.
Oh well, McCain hated conservatives. And it's interesting because I don't know if you watched parts of the funeral, but I did. And every time I saw another speech where they're saying, well, he wanted to bring people together, I wanted to puke because he hated conservatives.
It's all a lie. Look, everything's a lie. Everything is a lie in the media. I'm sitting here looking at this thing, and USA Today writes a headline. 4 declarations corroborate Christine Blasey Lyer's story. That's just a lie. It corroborates her claim, if you believe it. It doesn't corroborate her story. The only people who could corroborate her story are the people who were there who do not, who actually say exactly the opposite. Right. This is a lie. It is designed to trick you. And I think more and more people are getting woke. You cannot believe anything the media says that supports liberals.
Right.
Ever.
And
if it can be interpreted, the statement can be interpreted as supporting something liberals want, it is presumptively a lie. If it is supporting something conservatives want, that's what we lawyers call admissions against interest, and you should take a closer look at it because it is more likely to be true. The media are partisan Democrat liars.
Well, but we did find out that the judge actually got drunk a couple of times in college, making him, I believe, the only college kid.
Making him me.
Yeah, or me. And the thing that I would say to them, and actually I wrote it, that, well, on one hand they say he was falling down drunk. Well, if he's falling down drunk, then there are parts of him that won't work well to do the sex thing.
Well, that's like a little, fact nobody wants to get into. I think the whole thing is ridiculous and stupid. And yes. I think we need to aggressively push back. We need to get Kavanaugh in, and then we need to systematically destroy progressivism.
But I think also it's part of the elite versus normal. You have to think like they think. You have to believe that anytime a woman comes out and says, I was hurt by a guy, you have to believe it right away. But
they don't believe that. They don't believe that.
But they want us to believe it. Of course.
Well, they want to impose a set of rules on us that doesn't apply to them. Ted Kennedy, Bill Clinton, Keith Ellison. It's all, Tom Carper, Sherrod Brown. It's all a lie, every bit of it. They don't care about abusing women. They don't care about blacks. They don't care about gays. They don't care about Hispanics. All they care about is their own power. And you've got to not be so stupid as to buy their virtue signaling posing. It's all a lie. It's all bull.
Yep.
And you have to understand, these are bad people who want to enslave or kill you. Just ask them. They'll tell you.
Well,
I'm sitting here. I'm looking on Twitter. You got Jimmy Kimmel talking about cutting off Kavanaugh's penis. I mean, for God's sake.
Well,
you've got Ted
that's
Cruz
really
being
strange
attacked in a restaurant.
I never thought that Jimmy Kimmel knew what a penis was, but
just looks in the mirror.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. And yeah, Ted Cruz and his wife. You know, if you don't like his politics, fine. But you know what? From the times I've met him personally, he seems like a nice guy. Why deny him being able to go out to dinner with his wife?
It's intimidation.
They
can't convince people, so they have to scare people. This is what leftists do. The next step is to shoot them. Oh, wait, we had that.
Yeah, we had that. You know,
we know how this game works. This is why it's so important that we decentralize the possession of firepower among the American citizenry by buying guns and ammunition and exercise our rights to the Second Amendment, because we have to balance out the elite by having power to fight, distributed among American citizens.
And that's why they want to take away the guns.
Exactly. They don't care. If they cared about people getting killed, Chicago, which is completely a Democratic monopoly, would be the most peaceful city in the world. They don't care about that.
Right.
Everything they say they care about, Jeff, is a freaking lie.
Yep.
It's always a lie. And if you just understand that, you're fine.
Yeah, well, but that you have to... I think that more people have to get out and shout and say, you know, I'm not taking this. You're full of crap. And they don't. I don't know if it's that they don't understand it, or they're just too shy to get up and say it.
Well, I think a lot of people are stupid. I think a lot of people are intimidated, and a lot of people are liars.
You know, it's interesting because when I thought about Ted Cruz getting thrown out of the restaurant with his wife, and actually, I heard this morning the restaurant actually just took him around to the other side and let him eat in a private room with his wife that no one knew, which they kind of did the right thing, I guess. And then I listed all the violent incidents that have happened from the left, violent or intimidating, you know, starting with Steve Scalise, but like last month they burned down a brand new RNC office, you know, and I'm thinking in Wisconsin. And what pops into my mind, believe it or not, is Islamic terrorism, because for 30 years there was Islamic terrorism, and United States leaders and all the other leaders of the world, you know, appeased them, and that's what the mainstream media is doing now, and that's what the Democrats and even the Republicans are doing now. Instead of getting up and saying, this crap's got to stop, it's illegal, I think they're appeasing people, and it's going to get worse because of it.
Yeah, I think, look, the normals lag behind the elites in what happens. Donald Trump was an 8-year later reaction to Barack Obama. Right? There's a lag. If the left is going to embrace all these very, very bad ideas like intimidation and violence. And it'll be met in kind eventually. It's inevitable. You're just not going to see people kind of shrug and go, "Oh, well, I surrender."
Well,
I just don't see it.
That's also the elite is what other people call the deep state. The people who think they get to run stuff and we can't have the president we elected.
Yeah, and that is an unstable system. You're not going to the normals are not simply going to shrug and go, "Well, I guess we lost."
Right. Exactly. And that's why we keep saying, hey guys, elections have its consequences. That's what your guy said. But the
new rules will be applied back, and it happened before. Democrats tried this before.
When?
It didn't work out so good for them.
When? I'm not.
1861.
Oh, 1861.
Yeah.
I had hair back then. I think. But yeah, I 1860. Oh, you mean with the Civil War?
Yes.
I guess so. That they were trying to overturn Lincoln, his election.
They didn't like the election. They
Right.
didn't like what the non-Democrats were doing, and they started something, and they lost.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was a little too bloody, but they did lose.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I've been in the ruins of a civil war. I know what happens.
Right.
It's not a surprise to me, but I don't put that outside the realm of possibility.
Well,
when you have implacable hatred and contempt for the rights, freedom, and liberty of normal Americans versus normal Americans who simply aren't going to live on their knees, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah,
Somebody's got to lose.
Somebody's got to lose, and I think that
I vote it not be us.
you voted what?
I vote that it not be us.
Yeah, we're not going to lose. I do think yes, and I do think I agree with you, and that what you say in the book that the anger is growing, and we thought we won when we elected Trump. In a way, because we got somebody who didn't look down his nose at us like the elite do.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When this has happened in the past, the silent majority, Reagan, and to some extent even Perot, the problem with the rise of normal people against an elite that wasn't meeting its needs was calmed by the fact that the elite kind of looked at it and said, yeah, we need to change. And, the Democrats changed after Reagan got elected. They became slightly more, they brought in Bill Clinton,
right,
who was a more conservative Democrat. But now they're doing the opposite. They're going even more left. And part of the underlying theme of what the elite is about is a hatred of normal people.
Right.
Before they didn't hate normal people. They thought, you're kind of, but you're not. I don't hate you. Working guy, he's okay. Now it's absolute contempt for normal Americans.
Right.
They hate us. They think we're bad people. They're trying to replace us with pliable third world people who are more obedient.
The interesting thing is, I don't think that the third world people will be pliant for long either.
Well, that's no one ever said the elite got its status by being smart. The elite is unelite. It is elite in the sense that it is not of us, but it is not a meritocracy. This is a meritocracy without merit.
Right. These
people have done nothing other than adopt poses. These aren't achievers. I mean, you look at these. Look at Barack Obama. What the hell he got elected president? Okay, what the hell did he ever do?
Oh, look at
Hillary Clinton. What the hell did she ever do?
I have one of his. I know his only accomplishment. Well, two accomplishments. Number one, he got Saudi Arabia and Israel talking because they both hated that Iran deal so much. No, and that's God honest truth. They never talked before, and now they have these secret backdoor meetings with their militaries because they're afraid Iran's going to get the bomb. So that was, if you want to call it an achievement. And he did start the Trump recovery by leaving office. So, by leaving office, Trump was able to come back in and turn around the economy. Other than that, he has no, yes, you're right, he has no achievements. And you're right, Hillary did nothing. Although she, this was the second time she deleted emails. There was a scandal under her husband's administration where a million emails were deleted. During the, remember the Travelgate scandal?
Oh, yeah.
She deleted about 1 million emails.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything is a lie. If anybody had done what Hillary did about classified material, any normal person, they'd be in jail. That's not subject to debate. That isn't subject to question. It simply isn't.
Well, look at the guy.
And yet she wasn't because of who she was.
Right.
And that is, a double standard, and you can't have that in a free society.
Right. But that's, and they keep saying, what I love is they keep saying, using that line against us. Well, Kavanaugh has to have the same justice as everybody else. But if he's going to have the same justice, then he has to have the same rights. Like innocent until proven guilty. Yeah,
when he takes a chick to drown in an Oldsmobile, give me a call. No, I'm serious. What's the freaking rule? Because you can't have two. If you're a lion of the Senate because you get hammered and dunk some chick you're cruising around with, then that's the standard. And that's okay. That's the standard. We're not going to have two standards. We're not. And some alleged drunken grope session between a couple teenagers during some party where she wanders off into a room with some dude and something happens, I don't care. You can't make me care because you've established a different standard.
Yep.
And I refuse to unilaterally disarm. Even if I objectively cared, I subjectively will not care.
That's right. Well, the other thing about Uncle Ted was that he should have been the first person arrested under the Logan Act because he went to the Soviet Union and said,
"Yep,
don't negotiate with Reagan. I'll be easier on you." I think that's illegal.
Not for them.
Oh, okay. Well, but that's the problem.
There's two sets of rules. That's why, it's all a lie. That's all a lie. I refuse to pretend that I'm not going to do what liberals do. I refuse to pretend that reality is what it is not what it is. I refuse to pretend that these rules exist. It's not, you get these never Trump sissies. Oh, we're better than that. This isn't who we are. Hey, stupid. Okay? I'm going to play by the rules. The rules are established by what people do, not what people say.
Right.
And I am not going to allow myself to be enslaved and subjugated by mindless adherence to rules that manifestly do not exist.
Well, and you know what? Everybody complains about Trump's tweeting and his language. I got to tell you something. New York negotiators, the whole thing is a game of who's got the biggest genitals. And he is an excellent New York negotiator. And as long as the economy is going up and we're stronger militarily, I don't give a shit what he says on Twitter. I gotta be honest.
I'm not particularly concerned.
And it was interesting because Nikki Haley was on Fox and Friends this morning. And if you remember yesterday, Trump started out by saying something like, most successful than any other administration, and there was a laughter. And he said it wasn't a laughter. It wasn't a laughter at what he said. It was a laughter that he had the balls to say it. And afterwards, even our enemies wanted to take selfies with Trump. Because they like the fact that they don't have to try to read him. Well, what does he really mean? What he really means is what he's saying. You there?
Well, he's just not a sissy.
Right. He's just not a sissy. And he's honest.
And I think people react to that. Being kind of being a sissy is being a sissy is the only kind of conservative that's acceptable.
Right. Who talks a good game but does what the liberals want.
Well, I mean, like Ben Sass, that prancing princess. He's always writing books with titles like "My, You've Disappointed Me" and "Oh Well, I Never," and always talking about true conservative values. Where the hell is Ben Sass? Well, Brett Kavanaugh is being slandered all over the place. Duty called. It went to his voicemail.
Yeah, well, he's hiding under a table set somewhere.
Yeah, he's on the Judicial Committee. Why the hell isn't he out there fighting? Because he's a freaking gutless, posing wuss.
And Flake, who's aptly known.
Oh, Flake.
Aptly named.
What a piece of garbage.
Well, then, when you're talking about...
At least when McCain screwed us, you knew he wasn't a wuss.
Right.
Flake is just a freaking sissy.
Yep. And,
God, he's pathetic.
And that's why he's not running for re-election, because his voters knew that. And we're tired of it. Another one...
Yeah, he was going to get trashed pretty good.
Yeah. Well, another one who's like that is on MSNBC. Joe Scarborough, the supposed conservative.
Oh, that idiot. Oh.
But
Record Joe.
Well, you got to give him a break, though. He's not doing it. He's not becoming a hateful liberal because he wants to. He's becoming a hateful liberal because he's dating a hateful liberal and wants to get laid. I got to be honest with you. That's why he's doing stuff like that.
Well, have you seen his music video?
No. You know why? I have
God.
this weak stomach sometimes. Is it as bad as I imagine?
It's truly remarkable.
That
Put
bad.
it this way, it drops your T by 50%.
Oh man. You mean it's that sugary too?
Oh, it's so lame. It's a crappy song, pretentious. It's just the worst.
Well, you know what? But he's an elite. I
chose to be now. See, the thing is, you could choose to be an elite. Elite doesn't mean you have to be rich and driving around in a BMW. I drive around in a BMW. You could be some idiot in a knit cap with a stupid Chinese character tattoo on your forearm that you think means luck and it really means sucker. And you're typing away on your iPad or iPod or iMac or whatever the hell, about Trump treason. And, you're part of the elite. You identify with the ruling class.
Right. It's interesting. I drive a Prius. And everybody says, oh, you must be one of those global warming freaks. Do you know why I drive a Prius?
Maybe it's like the Prius. I don't know.
I don't
Good gas mileage?
Nope. If you live on Long Island... And the big parkway, the Long Island Expressway, you can drive in the HOV lane if you're alone and you have a Prius.
Oh, okay. That sounds like a good reason.
That's why my wife has one too. And it's so we could drive and get home earlier. But I think that...
Seems like a reasonable thing.
But I think that people make judgments too fast also. They see a BMW, they think you're, a rich elitist, an arrogant person, and you see a Prius, they think I'm a save the whales type, but they don't really know. And you know what? I read something else that you did this morning, and I understand the elite are trying to ruin our food.
Oh yeah,
that they're ruining hamburgers.
They're trying to. We're going to fight the power. That's not happening.
Well, yeah, that's not happening. I remember when they tried to get us to stop eating beef at all, and that ain't happening. I like to eat meat that once mooed. Sorry, and I don't care that my cows fart. You know, I love my brother and he farts. You know. But the other thing is that, and this is, I think, Justice Scalia's greatest ruling ever. They tried to ruin pizza.
Oh, really?
Well, Chicago pizza. Chicago-style pizza is not pizza. It's tomato pie.
Tomato pie.
Actually, he called it tomato quiche. And that was Justice Scalia's greatest ruling, I think. You know, but I was a big fan of Justice Scalia. He was a good man. So the midterms...
He was.
Right? The midterms are coming up. How do we fight elitism in the next 6 weeks? Or do we?
Well, we need to. We need to activate. We need to ruthlessly defeat our opponents. That means getting out there, and that means voting. We've got to take this very seriously, and we've got to get out there and make sure that everyone we know is out there and voting. That's the only way. There's no alternative. We have to do that, or we're going to have a real problem.
But how do we convince them?
Well, I think the Kavanaugh thing is convincing a lot of people.
You think
now
so?
That's anecdotal. I think it is anecdotally, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Everybody's, every mother's got every mother with a son is going to be wondering, is my boy going to be wrecked by some lying twit 35 years later who decides she doesn't like him?
Right.
Because that's the standard. That's the standard they want to impose.
But what about the ones who have daughters? Who, I mean, there are women who actually had sex crimes happen to them.
Yeah, and I don't think that normal ones are particularly interested in using their kind of experience to, essentially oppress people.
You know, it's interesting. I was watching. I don't remember what I was watching last night, but one of the stations, they kind of grouped the Cosby thing and the Kavanaugh thing in the same sentence. And I'm thinking, wait a second. Here's a guy who drugged and raped, 60, 70 women. And on the other hand, it's a guy who might have gotten drunk in high school and touched a girl. Neither one is right.
Yeah, worst case.
I mean, and that's the worst case. I don't think anything happened. I mean, let me tell you. What?
I don't buy it either. Look, and even if it did happen, it's 36 years ago.
Well, that and like I said, he for him to go up there and admit he was a virgin until years after college, that alone.
That was pretty mortal. To drag him through this stuff and do that, I'm glad he's standing strong. And they're trying to, and I see the media hinting that Trump's, wavering. I don't buy that for a second. Trump understands what's going on here. You can tell because he's staying out of it.
Yeah. Exactly. He's staying out of it. He's not doing his usual. I mean, he did one attack on Twitter, but even when he talks about it, he's not attacking them. He's doing the right thing. He's letting other people handle it.
Look, everybody who says he's tactically, who thinks he's dumb, he's very tactically smart.
Oh, of course he is. You don't get to be, a multi-billionaire real estate investor by being an idiot. It just doesn't happen.
True.
You know,
that's absolutely true.
As I'm married to a real estate accountant, I can tell you for sure. I don't know when the billions are going to start rolling in, but when they do, and when I buy a news channel, Kurt, you're going to have a regular show.
Oh no! How much are you going to pay me?
Don't worry.
I always worry. I'm an L.A. trial lawyer. I got expenses.
Well, of course.
People keep going, hey, I want you to be a radio show. And I don't think they understand. Radio guys don't get paid shit. Oh,
right.
Excuse me.
No, this is
They don't get paid
this is
anything.
internet. They don't get paid shit either.
They don't get paid shit. And I'm thinking, why would I want to go work for, $40,000 a year doing a radio show when I could just be on everybody's show I want?
Right. And
it's weird because I'm doing my media tour next week. And
right. Oh, I thought this was the kickoff.
This is the kickoff. you were literally Selena Zito yesterday maybe, but we'll call today the kickoff. She is great.
Yeah, you.
And it's just the thing is, Andrew Breitbart brought me into this, and I met all these great people like you and Selena and a whole bunch of others, and it's just we have a network of people. So I mean, I could start sending out a few emails, and suddenly I have a bunch of media hits.
Right.
People have me on and want to talk about my stuff, and it's just very gratifying. I think we have had a nice little group here of people who support each other, and of course the fans are incredible.
Fans are incredible, and you know what?
I mean, the guy. I mean, they're the only reason you and I exist,
right?
In this thing, because if nobody, if they weren't out there and they didn't think, okay, Jeff's cool or Kurt's cool, we beat nobodies.
And it's interesting because we sort of like grew up, at least in the media side of our lives together. We take care of each other. We do. But
yeah, I mean, I've got. It's strange because typically when you're like 40 or 50, you don't make a lot of new friends. But I've made a lot of really good friends out of the conservative movement.
Right.
Not just people I see, but people I talk to about stuff that doesn't relate to politics, and it's just gratifying. I mean, the group of people involved in conservative stuff is generally really cool. Now there are jerks,
of course there are,
and we know who they are.
Right.
And I don't let their toxic lives be part of mine.
Right. No.
But most of the people are just, really interesting and cool.
Cool, smart, and nice.
Yeah.
Every other day, I'm usually tweeting out something to defend Dana.
Oh God, Dana just takes so much abuse. She's such a trooper.
I got to tell you something. She was one of my editors. I mean. At big journalism,
yeah,
and I always say I taught her everything she knows, but not true. But she's one of the most decent persons I ever met. You have this bullshit going on. A couple of weeks ago, do you know why I'm blocked from Roseanne? Because she got into a Twitter war with Ed Morrissey, and I took Ed's. I took Ed's side. Ed's like. I think the nicest person I've ever met in this business or out of this business.
I think that I was just going to say something along those lines. He's a genuinely nice person, which makes me protective of him because he can be exploited.
But not, you know what? He's not abused. A fool. But
no, he's not an idiot.
Right. So
no, he's just nice. And when I'm not nice, I am not a nice person. If you came and said, what would you call Kurt Schlichter? Nice would not come to mind. Because I am not nice. I'm very aggressive.
Yes.
And I don't care about other people's feelings to a large extent. I mean, I don't get off annoying or hurting people.
But
I never
you're
look
nice
for a fight.
It's kind of like you're nice in the way until they go after you. You don't go after them.
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy to get in a brawl. Guys like Ed would prefer to, discuss something reasonably. I'm the guy you break the glass and bring out when reasonable is not an option.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need some of those. And you know what? I think Andrew was like that.
Andrew was a very nice guy, good guy. He was a genuinely great person. He was a visionary. I haven't met very many people like him.
My favorite Andrew story is just God's honest truth. He was on the Hewitt show with his book, and you complained that he wasn't.
I heard that show. I remember it distinctly.
Right?
Yeah.
I tweeted Andrew after the show and said, you know what? I've written 200 articles for you in the last year. I should have been in the forward.
Oh, that's funny.
And everybody who knows me knows I'm a ball buster. The next morning, I get a phone call from Andrew. You know what? You're right. I should have been in there. Andrew, I was busting your chops. I don't care. I want your book to do well. But this is how he was.
No, he's a genuinely good person.
But if you screwed with him,
it was on.
Right.
So that solutions don't screw with him.
Right.
That's like the solution for dealing with most people.
But yeah, we were very lucky in terms of how we were brought into this crazy world. Sadly, we weren't breastfed, but that's different.
There's an image that'll haunt us.
But yeah, I mean, even I got to tell you, even Adam Baldwin, if he wasn't with Andrew, I would have never met him. It's the people, and then there are the people that take advantage of, and I won't use the name, but the one guy who says, I was closer to. Whenever you hear someone say, I was closer to Andrew then, or if Andrew was alive, he would, that they're full of shit. Because, first of all,
Andrew was everybody. I mean, people go, oh, you were friends with Andrew? I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't make me special. That just makes me alive around that period doing this stuff. Because Andrew is friends with everybody. I mean, I'm not the only guy walking around with his number on my cell phone still.
You really? I have his text messages still on my phone.
Yeah, I mean, that I would get a random phone call out of the blue from Andrew Breitbart, and we'd sit and talk for a half hour. That's cool. It's cool, I guess, in retrospect, but it doesn't make me special. So I hate when, oh, you're a special ally of Andrew Breitbart. No, he did this for a lot of people. Yep. He brought me back into the conservative writing, and he brought a lot of people.
That's right.
I'm not special. It's just,
Well, my thing about
just a thing that happened.
That anybody who says if Andrew was alive, he would do X, Y, Z, he would support X, Y, Z. The whole thing with Andrew is you would never know what he'd do, and whatever he did, and he'd give you his logic. You'd say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense."
He's a very smart guy.
Very smart, and sadly, he had a big heart that burst. But
he didn't take care of himself. I was out to lunch with him about 2 weeks before he died, and I said, Andrew, you look like shit, and you got to take care of yourself. Oh, I'll be fine. I'm like, no, really, you're sweating while you're eating.
Yeah.
You're not looking good. Oh, I'll be fine. I'm going to slow down. No, you've got to. I didn't realize he had heart trouble.
Yeah. Well, he didn't either.
He did.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Or at least I think he had hints of it. Remember, he's only 43.
No, yeah.
In retrospect, I've been to a cardiologist since. I'm trying to avoid carbs and stuff, because I if anything good comes out of it, maybe a bunch of us will take a little better care of ourselves. Well, he ran himself into the ground.
Yep.
And I wish he had not done that.
Yes. And it was funny. I mean, not funny, but right after that is when I started checking myself for diabetes.
Yep.
And I had it. I mean, but it was, because there's a guy who, and he really cared about everybody. He really did.
Yeah, he did. He was a genuine guy. I mean, he was nuts. He was wacky sometimes. But
I remember at CPAC one year, he spent an hour just sitting down and talking to the students who were there. Yeah. Like in that lounge, next to the bar.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yep.
Nobody else in his position.
He would talk to anybody. You had a podcast with like 4 people. He'd spend a half hour with you telling you how to get better. And those guys are now people, in many cases, people we all listen to.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's one of the good things happening with media these days.
Yeah, I think there's lots of options. I mean, you got Tony Katz out there. You got Ben Shapiro, you got Larry O'Connor, all these guys, like Dana. I mean, they're all stars, and they're all very different. But they got their start really through Andrew.
I'm laughing when you say Larry O'Connor. Last time I had dinner with him, he told me that when he was working in the LA office of Breitbart, whenever someone would bring me up, they'd imagine me in the big black hat with the sideburns coming down the payas and beard. And no, guys, it wasn't like that.
Hey, my man, I've got to get going.
Okay, just tell me what you got coming up. Besides, October 2nd, the book comes out.
October 2nd, the book comes out. That's the big thing. Get the book. Get Militant Normals. Go on Amazon. Buy it.
You can buy it today.
Thing to be a top seller. Buy it now.
Buy now.
This minute.
And like I said, if they give you a hard time, you tell them Kurt. If that doesn't work, you tell them you got a credit card that works. If you got a credit card that works,
one of those will work.
That'll work. Okay, and I can't tell you how much I love that book, guys.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
Oh, I loved it. And you got a column coming out tomorrow.
Column comes out tonight at midnight Eastern, and it's on Kavanaugh questions.
Oh,
and it's brutal.
I'm sure it is, because at times you're not a nice guy, and I love your humor, Kurt. Thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Thanks, my man.
I really appreciate you coming. You take care, man.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon. Right. Bye.
Adios. Bye.
Folks, that was the great Kurt Schlichter, and I have to tell you something. I wasn't joking when I said that this is a really, really good book. You'll read it and you'll say, that idea is so simple. Why didn't I think about it? And I'm not saying simplistic. I'm saying simple, like the old keep it simple, stupid. And when you read through the book, you just keep on going. Like, wow, that is incredible. So it's called Militant Normals. The official publication date is October 2nd. I was actually going to bring out the book and show it, but we're radio. It's October the 2nd, and but you can order it on Amazon today. Now, two big things tomorrow. And I think the biggest one is the Kavanaugh. Is that they took a guy who was just such a freaking Boy Scout and started making charges. And it's just the liberal strategy. The liberal strategy is always screw, make up, whatever. Do what you can to knock down the conservative. And that's what and that's kind of what we're doing. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the timeline, and I wrote something about the timeline a couple of days ago, but if you look at the timeline, it started right after the news was that Schumer got a letter from all these progressive organizations saying, you better destroy this guy. You better make sure he doesn't get nominated. Okay, that was on September 5th. The next weekend is when we started getting, I hear rumors that Kavanaugh once tried to rape a girl. Guys, it's nonsense, okay? But the problem is that we have a person who says that she was sexually assaulted in a suburban Maryland house, that she doesn't know which house. She doesn't know whose house it was. She doesn't know when it was. It was kind of sort of that weekend. And we know that Dianne Feinstein had 6 weeks. She held on to that letter for 6 weeks before she did anything. Sounds to me she was just waiting to pull it out at the right time. And I think the right time is when Mr. Schumer got that letter from 13 different progressive groups saying, you better stop this thing. And I think that she thought it was nonsense, the letter, until she had to use it. Okay? The story's falling apart. Okay? She named 4 people at the party. One of them was Kavanaugh. The other 3 say, what party? I was never there. Her good friend, who's a female, said, I never met Kavanaugh. But people like my idiot senator, Kirsten Gillibrand, who was actually, when she was in Congress before she was named senator, was pretty conservative. She was anti-illegal immigration. She was pro-Second Amendment. She was pro-Israel. And then all of a sudden, as she decided that she not only wanted to be successful in the Senate, but I think she wants to be president, she took the elite liberal line. There were articles where the Latino community hated the fact that she was appointed to the Senate seat. She took over from Hillary because they hated it because she was so anti-illegal immigration. Now she's pro. Now she wants to kill ICE. I remember when she first got into the Senate and she was asking Chuck Hagel questions when he was going to be defense secretary. And she brought up Israel so many times, I got embarrassed. It's like, pick up another thing. There are things more important than Israel in the country. But she was a big supporter of Israel. Now she supports the Iran deal. She lies in public about Netanyahu, saying he doesn't want a two-state solution. This is who we're talking about. And she's 100% sure that Judge Kavanaugh is guilty. Well, you know what? It's impossible. We're going to find... That's the thing. We're never going to find out. And the real problem is unless this woman comes out and says, okay, I was set up by the Dems to say this. It's going to be he said, she said. And the interesting thing is, and when it's he said, she said, then everyone's going to say he's guilty. Okay, that's the problem with that. The tie goes to the victim, or the supposed victim. And he's screwed. Whether or not, if they can keep the 51 votes they have, then he'll get confirmed. But I don't know. Susan Collins, I don't trust her. Okay, now the second one that came out, the one that came out over the weekend, with Mr. Ronan Farrow. It could be him. It might not be him. I was drunk. I didn't know at first when they asked me, but I thought about it for 6 days. Actually, what she probably had is liberals from the Senate committee talking to her for 6 days because their staff had been in contact. Not that the Republicans knew, but the Democrat staff members had been in contact with her, and she thought about it for 6 days. Guess what? They convinced her. Not she remembered. Okay? Because she's not really sure. Okay? And when you have the New York Times say, yeah, we heard this story and we tried to investigate it, but we couldn't find anybody that would back it up, so we didn't print it. When the New York Times doesn't print an anti-conservative story because it had no evidence, that's like incredible. And it means they had no evidence, guys. Okay. And then there's creepy porn lawyer. Creepy porn lawyer Michael Avenatti said that I have someone who says she has totally proof that Kavanaugh was involved in a group that would push gang rapes. Okay, now, forgetting for a second that how does a guy who admits that he had no sex for the first until way after college do gang rapes in high school or college? It doesn't work. And gang rapes, I mean, I don't know. That's an even rarer occurrence than the type of stuff that Ms. Ford was talking about. But here's the best thing. Kavanaugh was supposed to announce things, his witness, either day before yesterday or yesterday. Funny how just while he was set for the big reveal, his Twitter feed, he went dark. He made it that it was everything, his account was protected. Why? I can't tell you for sure, but I do know that yesterday afternoon on iChan, under a heading of how to F word with a porn lawyer, except they didn't say F word, they had a thing of how this guy's girlfriend called Avenatti on a burner phone and told him this story. And yesterday, just when she was supposed to participate in the big reveal, her burner phone went dead because it was all a hoax. Now, I don't know if this was true. Certainly, iChan isn't my first choice for getting news, but the fact that happened and Avenatti's Twitter went dead seems to me, and the fact that certainly it just seems so out of character for Kavanaugh, seems to me that Avenatti got punked. So the creepy porn lawyer, well, to quote Ricky Ricardo, creepy, you'll have some splaining to do. I think that that was a fraud, and you don't just jump on things and without checking on them. And he just jumped on it. The lady told him something that he wanted to hear. And that's why I think we'll find out that the story is such nonsense. Actually, I believe the story is nonsense, but it'll be, I think soon Avenatti will have to say it. Anyway, folks, we got to wrap up here. This was a great show. I'm so happy that Kurt was able to be on the show. You got to read the book. Okay? You got to read the book. Okay, Militant Normals. How regular Americans are rebelling against the elite to reclaim the American democracy. Folks, buy it on Amazon today. On the show post, I will. It has a link, and when I do the podcast post, we'll do another link. And thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and we will see you a week from today on October 3rd.
Blame it all on our roots. We never wore boots, never once played in the street. Feel very bitter, get our news off of Twitter, just can't handle defeat. You saw the surprise, the fear in our eyes when Donald became president. Scream, this can't be true, America's through, into the safe spaces we went. I've got friends in safe spaces. If you don't go with us, then you must be racist. That's our catchphrase.
God bless this great country of ours.
there's my latte. Come on in and let's get cozy, showing off participation trophies, watching CNN.
Thoughts on the
Sex faces.